Hey y'all, it's me, Dri. So something happened that I actually was not expecting. And no, the quiet, it didn't end. It's still here, but it's actually sharper. And it's strange to say this. Oh, my eyes, man. It's strange to say this, but it felt like somebody flipped a switch inside my chest. It's not a jolt, and it's not a surge like I described in my last video. I guess it's what came after the surge. It was just a clean click. And then suddenly, I could hear myself again. Not the frantic voice, and not the survival voice, and not the voice that tries to figure out the whole path in one single breath. I could hear my real voice. The one that I haven't heard this clearly in years, if not ever. I've been pulling cards, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like fragments or emotional echoes looking at me. The cards have just been clear, like the fog inside me finally lifted. And my pendulum, that's been moving before I even asked it to do anything, which is just a phenomenon within itself. It's like my higher self has leaned forward and whispered, yes, you're here, you're aligned, you're seeing and hearing everything correctly, which is wild. But I felt it, not as a rush and not as adrenaline, but more of a quiet recognition, or one better, a full remembering. Because this wasn't a breakthrough, and it definitely wasn't a spiritual spike. And it wasn't a moment of upgrading. It's been a moment I returned to myself. And I didn't realize how much of my intuition had been muted by my survival patterns until suddenly it wasn't anymore. And also, I didn't realize how much of my knowing I had learned to tune out, because my life has just been a continuous loop of demanding that I brace for the next impact. And now I'm no longer bracing. I stopped doing that maybe a week or more ago. And I'm not gripping. I don't know why I always get calls when I sit down to do this, but if I don't clear them out, it messes with the audio and I'll have to record all over again. Anyways. So yeah, I'm not bracing. I'm not gripping. And I'm not listening through distortion. And also, I'm not interpreting through fear. I'm just here. And here, by here, I mean I'm present. I'm clear. I'm steady. And what surprises me the very most is that for as magical as it feels, it also feels completely normal. That night before Christmas anticipation, that's gone. It doesn't feel dramatic or mystical or electric. It's just regulated. I'm grounded. And the biggest thing of all is that with the clarity that comes with it, things are just uncomplicated. It feels like I finally have access to my own internal language again. When I was younger and my great-grandparents were still alive, they both were deaf mutes and they spoke sign language. And as a little girl, I remember always practicing sign language so that I could speak to my great-grandparents whenever we'd visit. They were in another state, so it wasn't often. But the click that I felt, it took me back to my understanding of sign language. And you know what else it took me back to is I took 3 years of Spanish in high school, and figuring out are they conjunctives or whatever, and putting together the sentences, like my intuition is a lot like that. It's like it's this own language inside of me of pattern recognition. And that's the biggest profound thing that I'm learning, is that one of my gifts is pattern recognition. And this week I felt the click. I felt it. I felt it click in. I recognized it. The cards that I pull, they just make sense. My body responds to them without jolting. And my intuition is sitting next to me, beside me even, instead of above me. Yeah. And everything just clicks. That's the biggest thing. Everything just clicks without me trying to force anything to click. And this is the first time in a very long time that my gifts are here and they're not loud. Calm and quiet. And accurate as fuck. I don't know. Well, I do know. Something inside of me knows that what's happened is I've hit a new baseline. And that quiet that started so long ago and is still here, although it's morphed itself along the way, the quiet wasn't the end of the chapter. It was like the recalibration for this chapter that I'm in. The remembering, the returning, the reopening, even just the rebuilding of trust between me and myself. I don't feel like I'm becoming someone new. I feel like I'm finally stepping back into the version of me who was buried under everything that I have survived. Or more, if you can even conceptualize it, I'm the version that I would have been if I had not picked up any triggers or trauma in this lifetime, which is impossible for any human vessel to not pick up trauma or triggers. But had I not, the version that I'm remembering, she's that version. That's who is coming back. And for once, not even the idea of rushing to decide what this means or where it's leading or even who might walk into my life next. I'm not rushing to figure out any of those things. Right now, I'm just letting myself feel what it's like to exist without any distortion. Because this is the first real moment where I can say, I'm not hoping for alignment anymore. I am aligned. And I know with everything inside of me that this is only the beginning of what opens next. What opens next for me and my collective. And for this new life that I'm starting, I'm getting the opportunity to start new, fresh, and with a completely different lens, perspective, and an entirely new mission in itself. But we'll talk more about that as we go. Those seeds that we were talking about that had been planted, they're sprouting. They haven't quite budded, but I can feel the ideas swirling around real low, beginning stage. And as they grow, I'll share them with you. But that's all that I've got for today. Where there is love, there is light. I'll catch you guys soon.